focus on one of our new projects that we really recently get funded by the European Commission. The project has been funded by the Erasmus Plus program and is called ARISA, artificial intelligence, is focused on artificial intelligence. What's the purpose of this project? Very briefly, we want to reduce the skills shortage. We want to reduce the gap. We want to fill the gap in the market. We want to analyze, understand the mismatch within the market and ensure an appropriate quality and level of skills. All of these, of course, in the specific project is focusing on artificial intelligence specifically. And in order to do that, we need to develop local ecosystems. We know that in the different countries, there are different mismatches, there are different shortages, there are different gaps. So the project is intended to understand those differences and develop a common European strategy able to fill those gaps. The project, again, is funded by the European Commission, and because of this, we are very proud to see that the project consortium is really covering a large part of the European countries. We have a total of 20 partners in the consortium of the project that are very spread around Europe from north to south, from east to west. And among those 20 partners, we have 4 associated that are representing different stakeholders. We have the industry, but we also have IT professionalism that you probably know as one of the big players when it comes to developing new frameworks and understanding what's the skills and the needs from the educational point of view. But we also have IFIVET, which also represent the vocational education training network in Europe. You see here in the map the different countries covered by the project, and on the left side you see also the name of the different partners involved. I want to tell you that because we really believe it's very important, this project is covering several and different stakeholders. We have the industry represented, of course, partially by the Digital Europe as one of the main players representing the digital sector and the industry. But we also have vocational education and training providers. We also have universities from different countries in Europe, and we also have national trade associations that represents the industry in different countries. We also have then 2 very important partners that represent the certification organizations, and in a minute you will also understand why those 2 are very important. Finally, I would like to show you a little bit how the project will progress. We will start the project really in a few weeks. So we will kick off in the middle of June, and then we will spend the first month of the project analyzing the skills mismatch in Europe and analyzing, of course, from the artificial intelligence sector. In this specific activity, I want to really invite you to keep to follow us and to concretely follow us in the coming weeks when the website of the project and the social media are going to be available in order to contribute in analyzing these skills mismatch. Anthony, in a minute will explain you a little bit better what I mean with that, but I really invite you to start following us from now, maybe starting from the Digital Europe website, but also again in a few weeks we will have the website and the social media of the project specifically. Yeah, and through those channels participate with us in developing a strategy so in the 2023, that we will really be able to support you and to provide a concrete examples on how to overcome those gaps that we will analyze in the coming weeks and months. The project will then, based on this analysis, develop innovative curricula and training programs and certification methods. Here, I just want to mention, because again, Anthony will be much more detailed than me, that what we're going to do is to develop two very different programs. One, let's say, more classical, and another one based on micro-credentials. This is one of the innovation that we are bringing with this project. Micro-credentials and micro-credential system and certification is very new. It's something that the European Commission is trying to push for different reasons. And on this project, what we want to do is to start developing something very concrete that then can be replicated in different European countries. And why it can be replicated? Because we are going to also pilot those programs in 2025. We will be able to do that, and of course provide all our experience and best practices to the public. The project will then end on the 2026. So as you see, we are talking about 4 years activities. It's going to be quite long, but I hope that you will be all with us and contributing in all the different steps. And it will end with an exploitation strategy and sustainable strategy. Why I'm mentioning this? Because an exploitation strategy means the using all the specific tools and reports and outcomes that the project produced during those 4 years, and only the stakeholders from the different countries in Europe can do that. We need to network with you, we need your contribution, but we also need to understand how to make those those results in line with what you need.
Valeria?
There are already, hello, Alexander.
Can I quickly interrupt? We actually don't see your slides moving. So we're still on slide 2 here. So your whole story sort of becomes out of frame.
Let me see if I can stopping and sharing back. I'm very sorry for this, because in my screen it was moving. Can you see maybe now?
We're on slide 5. Slide 5 right now. 6.
So then I will give you 1 minute to have a look to the geographical map of Europe, because I believe that it's very important to see how the project is really covering several of the European countries and the name of the different partners in our consortium. As I said, we are 20 in total, very different and diverse partnership. We're really proud of this. So just want to give you a moment to see which organizations are there. And then I hope you see my slide number 5 with the timeline. But really, my presentation I want it to be very short and leave the floor to Anthony, that it will give you much more detail on what we're going to do, why we're going to do it, and which kind of results we aim to achieve. So thank you very much, everybody, for being here. And Anthony, I let the floor to you.
Good morning, everyone. I'll just, if you can stop sharing, Valeria, I can jump in. Okay, and I'm hoping that everybody can see that. In terms of much more detail, I mean, we've got a short amount of time. We want to do as much Q&A as possible. So I'll put the project in context with respect to why this is important from a business and from a policymaker and from a technical perspective, and give you an idea of what the challenges are, and maybe put the proposal in context. So as has been said by all the speakers this morning, there's a significant challenge in the marketplace, and it's one of skills. And what you're seeing on the left here are the outcome of a report that was done last year called The Challenges of Entering the AI Market. It was undertaken by the European Union. And to no surprise, 50%, over 57% of people, organizations are having challenges hiring the right staff with the right skills. And within their existing skill employee base, they lack the right type of skills. Now, the challenge, therefore, is how do you address that skills gap? And when you look over here at what people are coming back, this was a study that was done by the World Economic Forum about the future of work. And it's, yes, there's challenges with skills and attracting the right type of talent, but it goes beyond that. And I think one of the speakers this morning talked about insufficient understanding of the opportunities. So it's not just a technical skills gap, it's a positioning gap. How do we understand what the potential is for these technologies, for AI, for analytics, to deliver national gain, competitive gain, and therefore it's as much a strategic positioning within companies as it is to a strategic positioning within nation states. And then it's understanding and making sure that the framework in order to allow that, so the ethical issues, the governance issues, are also addressed as well. When you look at the types of skills that are needed from a technical perspective, and this was taken from the, it's called the linked economic, or the LinkedIn economic graph. It was done for the future of work. You can see it, and I don't think it's usually surprising, the types of technical skills that are required in the marketplace, right across artificial intelligence, data science, data engineering, analysts, and so on. But what I think is important to recognize is that within the skills base, you're seeing a significant emphasis on aptitude and addressing things like analytical talent, complex problem solving, creativity, originality, leadership, social influence, growth mindsets, and so on. And that's important because what organizations are tending to do now is they're saying, look, there's a skills gap. Potentially we can't find people with the right technical skills, but we can find people with the right aptitude. And we can bring those people into the organization. And what you're seeing, McKinsey have said this, best practice is putting in place transition type programs that can skill people up quickly to bring them to the level required for organizations then to bring them in and do the organizational things that they need and fit those people out in terms of what the organization needs to do. Now that's important because it opens up an enormous pool of opportunity for people to come in, people that, and COVID and working remotely makes that even more enticing because it allows people to enter the workforce that traditionally may not be suited to a 9-to-5 job. So think about it as skills, but it's also the aptitude to build those right types of skills. And when you look at skills, as I said, it's not just technical skills, and I'll focus on the right because the left talks a little bit about how it's being addressed at an organizational perspective and at a country perspective, and that'll lead into how we've structured the ARISA project. But if you look at it from an organizational perspective and you look at the key roles that are starting to grow within those organizations, it's technical, but it's also understanding the technical capability and positioning that. And what you're seeing is a growth of what are called business translators, people who are sitting down and need to position AI and analytics for a non-technical audience. They need to be able to understand how this is going to deliver competitive gain, how it's going to open up new opportunities for revenue, how it's going to deliver better customer experience, improved social good. And there's also, you're looking at process engineers. How are we going to integrate these new technologies within the organization? And data engineers, how do we curate this data? How do we govern it? How do we protect it? And so on. So it's not simply the technical roles of AI, it's also business roles and non-technical, non-analytical roles that need to understand how do we position this within an organization and a country context. And on the left here, what you're seeing is, and this was taken from a report from McKinsey, But I think it makes the case very well in terms of the approach that has been taken with ARISA. It's how do you address the challenge? And they've broken it out into 3 areas. And number 1 is you address what are the skills gaps? What is required? What is the market demanding? What is the supply of those skills? So it's understanding where do we stand at the moment, and what types of skills and expertise do we need to develop, and then it's putting in a strategy.
I'm very sorry for interrupting. We have a question from Alexander Lub in the chat, but maybe I would ask Alexander to address Anthony directly if it's possible.
So I was happy for him to finish the sheet first, but my question was regarding the 3 circles, and you've identified 3 overlap roles, which I think is really relevant and interesting. And I was wondering if there's also a role that would sit bang in the middle, because that part is empty, and it seems like if we have people that can also do that, they would be the wizards, right?
And very few of them about. I think it's a good point, and probably. I would, from my own personal experience, as someone with a background worked in research and development, I think those business translators move into that middle spot. They do spend a lot of time, not just looking at the domain expertise, the AI skills, they spend a lot of time with IT as well. And I would say that within the diagram, the data engineers, the process engineers, and the business translators tend to come together in that middle spot. I doubt there's one person that knows it all, but they would share the type of knowledge that makes sure that the types of outcomes are positioned correctly. So if there's one person in the middle, we need to find them and get them involved in the project. But from my perspective, I think it's a meeting of minds in that central spot across those 3 roles. I could be wrong. Other people might want to contribute to that.
Thank you.
Just as I was saying, in terms of then, once we understand the gaps there, you obviously have to understand what's the strategy. And Xander might actually come in later on and talk about that piece, because it's about making sure that we put an effective strategy in place to meet those skills gaps. Now, I'll talk a little bit about that. I won't spend too much time because I'm conscious of time. And then the last thing, the 3rd area, is reimagining the infrastructure. How do you deliver those skills? Is it centers of excellence? Is it through academic institutes? Is it through micro-credentialing? And I think micro-credentialing has a huge potential to fill that gap, certainly at those levels where you entice people, you build their confidence, you get them enthusiastic, you get their ambition, and they come into the workforce, and then away they go. But it's building that confidence to start with. But it's looking at various mechanisms and instruments to build that infrastructure to get those skills and to address those particular gaps. And remember, it has to be a movable feast. Those gaps change. There's there used to be a significant focus on data science. It seems to have moved to data engineering. A huge focus now on this business translation role, and so on. So we need to be constantly looking at the signals and assessing where the market needs to be and addressing that. And I will finish on this. In terms of the approach to ARISA, it's looking at, obviously there's a lots of various reports and data. And I suppose the particular challenge is the amount of data, and it's how do you capture that data? How do you curate it? How do you look at it? But data from the likes of the Skills Panorama, the AI Watch, these are European reporting that's done. There's the Advanced Technologies for Industry technology reports. There's the skills maps that are done. But then outside that, as I've mentioned, the LinkedIn Economic Monitor, the OECD Observatory is reporting on AI, the World Economic Forum, and so on. And it's taking all those signals and understanding what the market is saying about the need. But then it's looking at what the European Union is doing. And the European Union, as you have heard, are doing lots of things. And it's obviously, we'll consider some of these across maybe all these. There's the various instruments, but there's the European digital strategy, there's the industrial SME strategy at this level here. There are other strategies. It's looking at the digital skills strategy. There's guiding strategies within each of the countries. So there's country level strategies. There's also the European strategy in terms of governance and so on. So there's the clusters, there's the knowledge and innovation communities, there's the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, there's the standards frameworks, there's the ECF, and so on. So it's looking at these, taking all these various pieces into account, and then understanding, you know, from that, what do we need to be aware of? And then in terms of what Valeria was saying, those outcomes, looking at the various sectors, looking at pilots, building curriculums, and then looking at how do you deliver it. You know, there's going to be obviously academic programs that need to be developed, but also this idea of micro-credentialing is gaining pace. Lots of different countries and companies are delivering it. Platforms like Coursera, DataCamp, and so on are becoming extremely popular. So we need to embrace that. There's the microcreds initiative at a European level as well, looking at how do universities deliver micro-credentials. So it's going to be looking at how do we boil those things down and deliver outcomes that are fit for purpose for the different types of roles. Some people want to do academic programs. Some people want to get up running very quickly these traditional or transition programs through micro-credentialing. Then it's obviously going to be piloting those and making sure that we come up with the right types of curriculums and a longer term plan. So it's taking the information in, taking into account the various mechanisms within Europe, and then coming out with outcomes that are fit for purpose. And as I said, it's going to be a continuous process. It's going to have to go on continually testing the signals. Long after the project is ready, we need to leave an infrastructure in place that allows that to continue. And Valeria, I will leave it at that.
Thank you very much, Anthony. I think that really this conversation is really interesting. And now that we have 5 minutes left, I would like to address a little bit the audience there. We have a couple of questions for you, and really I hope that you engage with us and discuss with us about a couple of points that for us are really important in this project. And first of all, following a little bit what Anthony was saying, I really would like to know if in the audience there is any experience in applying micro-credentials, and what are the main challenges that you faced when creating this kind of programs. I know, well, I knew in the audience we had Manuela Bostone from Chime, and really thank you very much, Manuela, for sharing with us your experience.